Good morning. Welcome to this special session. This is an extra session this month in the Business Startup Series with SCORE and Hedberg Public Library. Thank you for being here. I'm going to introduce myself quickly. I'm going to have my co-presenter Naomi introduce herself, and then we'll switch over to the slides and begin the presentation. I am Kara Blue. I am a public services librarian here at Hedberg Public Library. I've been here a couple of years. One of my roles here is to engage with the business community and also ensure that our customers are aware that we have many useful business resources. Naomi, would you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everybody. I am Naomi Schemm. I am coming in from up the road in Whitewater. I am the business librarian at UW-Whitewater. As you probably know, Whitewater is known as we like to boast a little, we're the largest business school in the state, which is true. And so as a result, we have a really large number of great business resources up here for our student use, but I've been working with Kara some over the last couple of years to publicize that community members can also use this if they are willing to come into the library. And especially in Janesville, we want to make sure people are aware our Rock County campus in Janesville is now part of Whitewater. We are just considered one school with two campuses. So you can either come to our campus in Whitewater or the Rock County campus in Janesville and get access to the business resources, the excellent business resources that we have here. So.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. And we also do have Beth has been joining us, Beth Webb. She is in the meeting, and I will put up all three of our contact information a little bit later in this slide presentation. But Beth has the joy of working at two of these libraries. She works at the Rock County campus of UW-Whitewater, and she also works here at Hedberg. She splits her time between those two places. So she's also another librarian at your disposal if you have questions. So, all right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so here is a snapshot of some of the business resources that your libraries have, that you have access to and can use as you're working on your business idea, and especially as you're beginning to pull together your business plan. I think most of you hopefully have been part of the SCORE presentations so far. If you haven't, you should be able to get caught up, but most of you I think have been involved so far, and you're at the point now where you need to put some of your thoughts and ideas and research down on paper. And these are the kinds of business resources that can help you. So again, this isn't everything that's out there, it's just a snapshot, but some of the kinds of resources we have that you may not be aware of are things like trade journals and financial ratios, industry reports, all kinds of market data, including potential lists of customers or consumers and demographic information about those consumers or potential customers, as well as journal articles, magazine articles, and maybe some labor market information. There's all kinds of resources contained within some of these business directories and library databases and article databases. So we are going to talk about a handful of these today, and we also will demonstrate a few of them for you. We won't be able to demonstrate all of them, but we're going to give you a sense of how they work and kind of carry through take one theme of one business idea and show how you would research that in a few of these resources. You can think about research as fishing. These are your ponds, and you're going to go fishing in these ponds to see what you can catch, what's going to be useful to you to use in your business planning.
One thing we like to highlight when we're talking about doing research is that most everybody thinks about starting for searching for content on Google or Bing or whatever your search engine of choice is. But I like to point out that those only search what's called the visible web, which is often illustrated as, the top half of an iceberg. And as you know, that's the very small part of an iceberg. This is searching free content. Anyone can create it. Generally, anyone can access it. There's very little regulation or kind of like editorial supervision, you might say, for a lot of stuff that gets put on the visible web. The bottom half of the iceberg is what we call the invisible web, and that's more of what library resources can give you access to. So that's things like the password protected websites that we'll be showing you today, various databases and catalogs, books, journal articles, legal information, business data. A lot of times Google or Bing will tell you that this content exists, like they will be able to find the title of it somewhere, but you'll find places where you get reports like this. Can you click, Kara?
Yes.
You'll often get content like this, where you get to, continue reading this article with a Wall Street Journal membership, or you get a cost of reports from, these are all screenshots of business and industry reports ranging from $350 to $4,000 for this type of business and industry reports. Hugely expensive. The reason they're so expensive is because they have a lot higher quality information. There's a lot more research that goes into making this type of content. There's a lot more editorial supervision that goes into these type of reports and this type of content. And so that's why it's not just available for free on the visible web, on the internet. It's what we call the invisible web, or, password protected databases, kind of hidden content, you might say. So we're going to show you again through the library, you can get access to a lot of these for free.
Correct. All right, before you actually dig into your research, though, there's some warm-up exercises we suggest. And one of your warm-ups is to figure out the NAICS code for your industry. So what business are you trying to start? What industry is it in? And what is the NAICS code for that industry? NAICS stands for North American Industry Classification System, and you can see it here on the screen. This is available to you. You can search for your NAICS code at the US Census website. And basically, it is a classification system. It is a way to organize different industries. And if you think back to your high school biology class, your teacher may have made you memorize kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. And if you recall, that was a system of classification for living things, going from very broad to very narrow, or another way to think of it is going from very general to very specific. And this NAICS classification system is the same idea. We're going from very broad sectors down to very narrow sectors, or very specific ones. We have an example here using child daycare centers. And actually, let's start from the bottom, because I think it's actually a little easier to think of it that way. The NAICS code for child daycare centers is 624410. And that is nested within the broader category of child care services, which is nested within individual and family services, and then social assistance. And up at the top, the most general category for this is healthcare and social assistance. So this may feel a little weird. It looks a little foreign. Maybe you wouldn't think of child daycare centers as falling within a category that they call healthcare and social assistance. But that's how it's been categorized. And your job is to figure out what your NAICS code is. Now, you don't necessarily have to know how to start broad. You can use a keyword search strategy to find your NAICS code. There is a keyword box right here on the screen, right above where it says 2017 NAICS search. You could enter in there childcare or daycare, and you would end up finding your way to the NAICS code. NAICS, the most recent version is 2017. It gets updated every 5 years. So it is due for an update next year in 2022. So just be aware that that may cause some additions or removals or changes or rearrangements in some of these categories. Okay. Why is it important to know your NAICS code? It's just a number, right? Well, these databases we're going to show you and many of the invisible web resources use the NAICS code as a way to search in advanced search ways. So if you're not using a basic, just a one box search, but you're going into some more advanced searching and some combinations of search strings and search categories, NAICS is often one of those ways to find what you're looking for. And here are two examples. We have a reference solutions database, and the advanced search feature allows you to search by business type, including keyword, SIC, and NAICS code. And then the example on the right is something called RMA Annual Financial Statements. This happens to be a print resource, but it also is organized by NAICS codes. So those are two examples of why we think you should make the effort to figure out the NAICS code for your industry. It's always a good cross-check to make sure that you are looking in the right place. So we've warmed up with NAICS code. Another warm-up here is to think about keywords that match your business. And let's use the daycare centers as another example. I have a couple other examples in here as well, but how many different ways can you describe or phrase the term daycare center? Here are some examples: daycare, childcare, dependent care, in-home daycare, childcare center, daycare center, childcare providers, child caregivers. And there are probably more than this. And there are some other examples here too for landscaping type businesses, health related businesses. Just take some time and think about your business, think about the industry that it's in, and how many different ways can you phrase it? Because you can use all of those combinations or varying combinations of those keywords in the searches, either if you're out there on the web searching or if you're using one of the invisible web resources that's offered through your library. Also, another tip, definitely use the autofill when it is available to you. We are all familiar with this. If any of you Google, you know that when you start typing something into the search bar, Google loads up a bunch of choices for you. And that happens also when you're searching invisible web resources. So go ahead and use that as a tool. Okay. So you've learned your NAICS code and you've thought about your keywords. What do you do next? You're ready to dig into your research. You're ready to get started. If you've been part of the SCORE sessions so far, you will recognize this from last week's presentation by SCORE, or you'll recognize it from the Chapter 4 materials that are in the SCORE roadmap. These are different tasks or homework assignments or pieces of research that you need to do to begin to write your business plan. There is a marketing plan component where you need to provide a description of your industry, as well as your competitors, and also your target customers. There is a financial plan section where you need to provide detailed projections of your financial goals for the business to help figure out when you're going to break even and when you're going to start turning a profit. And you need to think about what it's going to take for you to actually open the doors of your business. What are your startup expenses? What do you need to actually hit the ground running and open up and start providing a product or a service? Now, SCORE has provided you with some spreadsheets or worksheets, if you will, and they are wonderful. They are templates. They have formulas built in. They're absolutely wonderful. You should use them. but they aren't going to do the research for you. You still have to do the research, do the digging, find the data to be able to crunch the numbers, or to be able to write out a narrative of the components of your business plan. So that's what we're hoping to help you with today, is point you to the resources where you can find that information and do that research to be able to get your business plan drafted. So what we're going to do next is kind of break down those parts, those homework assignments that you have for writing your business plan, and tell you which resources you can go to look for some information that you may need. So what we're going to do first is talk about them, and then we are going to demonstrate most of them. We won't demonstrate all of them, but we're going to demonstrate most of them. So let's begin with the marketing plan part of the business plan. There were 3 components that were underlined in the previous slide. One was describing your industry, the next was identifying your competitors, and the third was understanding your customers. So to describe your industry, we suggest that you start with that NAICS search. So go to the Census website, go to the NAICS webpage of that website, and figure out your NAICS code. There will be a brief description of your industry as part of that, a very basic, very brief description of your industry. Next, we suggest, and we are going to say it, we can suggest it, we're allowed. Even though we're librarians, we will say you can Google things. Go to a web browser.
Yeah.
And go to a web browser and try to find a trade association, one or more trade associations that is affiliated with your industry. And we have some search strategies you can use for making sure you hit on an appropriate association or a reliable, good resource for a trade association. But assuming you find one, see what they have freely available on their website. They may have a blog. They may have free reports you can download. They may report regularly on current trends in the marketplace for that industry. See what you can find there about your industry. Third, go to a database called Ibis World. And this is a database that Naomi is going to demonstrate. This is only available at Whitewater campuses. So it does require access there, but she's going to demonstrate how useful that particular database is for getting you a very detailed report on your industry. And again, knowing your NAICS code to make sure that you're looking at the right information is very helpful. Okay, to identify your competitors, we suggest trying a database called Reference Solutions. This is available at both of our libraries, so it's at the Whitewater campuses, and it's available here at Hedberg Public Library. You do need a library card. You need special access to get in there. There are Reference Solutions is a database of databases. There are several tools within Reference Solutions. To identify your competitors, one of those tools is called the U.S. Businesses Database, and it has an advanced search feature where you can either keyword search by your industry or use your NAICS code and limit that geographically so that you are honed in on the competitors that are within your market area. It will give you a list of businesses that share your industry that are potential competitors of you. So that's what we suggest for identifying competitors. And then for understanding customers, we suggest going to the U.S. Census data because this is your source of demographic data for a specific point of sale or points of sale area. So we will try to demonstrate a search in Census for you today. Then again, we recommend Reference Solutions because it has a second tool or a second feature called Consumer Lifestyles, and that is a way for you to potentially generate a list of customers or consumers in a certain area. We will demonstrate that as well. And finally, for understanding customers, there are a couple of article databases accessible at our libraries. One is called Business Source Complete. The other is called Business Source Premier. And these are databases that allow you to search for a topic of interest, a business topic of interest in your industry. You can search across a variety of resources, including magazines, trade journals, and magazines, trade journals, and even academic or scholarly journals if you're interested in that level of detail. So we will show you a little bit of that as well. So that is the marketing plan component and some of the both visible web and invisible web resources you can use to find information for your business plan related to describing your industry, identifying competitors, and understanding your customers. Now, in the financial plan portion of your business plan homework, there is a financial projections spreadsheet or worksheet that SCORE alluded to and described last week in the sessions. This is still within the Chapter 4 SCORE roadmap materials. It's a very long, very complicated spreadsheet. It has a lot of formulas already built in for you, but you still need to populate it with some data. And one of the pieces of data you need to populate is payroll data. So this is wage data. If you plan to have even one employee as part of your business, you need to think about what you're going to pay them. So there are two sources for this information, Wisconomy and the Wisconsin Bureau of Labor Statistics. You can use any of these tools. These are normally, I would say, more typically used by job seekers or by those individuals who are helping job seekers find jobs. But you can also use these tools to get wage rates to help fill in that tab 2A payroll information that's in the financial plan projections spreadsheet provided by SCORE. Then there are financial ratios. And these are, I'm getting ahead of myself in my notes, these are industry norms or benchmarks. And there is a special spot in the financial projections spreadsheet, a special tab that is reserved for you to enter this data. These are in print at Hedberg. Naomi, are they in print at Whitewater or do you have an electronic?
We have print.
You have print too. Okay, so this is a print source, the RMA annual statements, organized by NAICS code. And this is where you can find the benchmark data and financial ratios for your industry that you need to drop into the spreadsheet. Ibis World is also a source for financial ratios, and Naomi will talk through that hopefully when she does the demo. And then finally, before we move on to the next, there is one more database called Gale Entrepreneurship that is available at Hedberg, and it is a source for finding sample business plans. There are other entrepreneurs who have written business plans, and there is a resource and a database where you can search those business plans and find them and look at their full text and see exactly how somebody else who was in your same situation not too long ago, how they wrote up their business plan, what they included in the introductory material, how they did the industry analysis, how they did the market analysis, and all of the things they thought about when they were thinking about how their business was going to operate and how much it was going to cost to run the business, and what they would expect out of their financial projections. So that is a resource to keep in mind. It's not always helpful to everybody. Not every kind of business that's trying to open up is going to find a sample business plan in there, but it's worth taking a peek. Okay. Finally, as part of the business plan homework or research, there is a startup expenses worksheet that SCORE provides. And this is basically just you thinking about what it's going to cost to actually open your doors. And in some cases, not for everybody, but for some of you, this means finding vendors to do work on a storefront or remodel or provide you with a good quote on office supplies or provide you with furniture and other equipment that you're going to need to run your business. You can use that same reference solutions database that we've already kind of introduced earlier for finding competitors and target customers. You can use that same database to look for vendors that you may need to get quotes from for startup expenses for your business. Also, remember your chambers of commerce. They keep directories of their members. So, and our Chamber of Commerce in Janesville is for Janesville, and they do have a membership directory. They have both a PDF directory that you can download, as well as they have a way to search their membership on their website. And finally, if you're going to be in the business of looking for a potential lender from a bank or a credit union, or if you're going to be in the market for searching for insurance coverage for your business, there is a website called Weiss Ratings that actually rates for you and compares and contrasts banks and credit unions and insurance companies. And that may be helpful as you're thinking about startup expenses for those things that you're going to need and how you're going to pay for them, how much they're going to cost. Okay. Before we move into the demos, here are some take-home points because we're going to have to switch from this slide deck out to the internet to be able to demonstrate these. So we're going to finish up the slide deck first and then head over to the demos. Remember that researching is like fishing. You are casting a net or casting your pole and your fishing line and seeing what you're going to catch. And you may not do well the first time, you may not do well the first 5 times you're looking for something, but every time you cast that out, you are going to get something back that may be a clue to help you move on to a different resource or try a different set of keyword search strategies. You're going to learn from what you're doing as you begin your research process. You may have to try over and over again. You may need to use the same strategy. Let's say you're using the same keyword combinations, but you're in a different pond. You're using a different resource. Or maybe you stay in the same resource, but you try a completely different set of keyword searches. So it's like fishing. You're just sending it out there, seeing what you get, making adjustments, and trying again. It is important for you to track your progress because the worst thing in the world, the worst thing in the world to me, and when I'm doing research, I always kick myself when I do this. The worst thing is to try a certain strategy with a certain set of keywords and limiters and then not writing down what you did and getting great results, but then getting interrupted and having to go back to it later and completely forgetting where you left off and what you started with. So track your progress, write down what keyword combinations you're using or what NAICS code you're using in your searches and what pond you're in, which resource are you searching in at the time, where did you leave off? Not all of the sources will be helpful to you. Some are going to be more helpful for certain business ideas or industries than others. And if you just aren't finding anything, you're not making progress, or if you just have a sense that, gosh, I know this data must exist, but I don't know where to find it, please ask us for help. We are here to help you find the information that you're looking for. And speaking of that, here is our contact information. Myself here at Hedberg, Naomi is at UW-Whitewater campus, and Beth is at the Rock County campus for UW-Whitewater. I can put this back up toward the end if anyone needs to see this again. And I think, yes, we are able now to move into some demos. I'm going to stop sharing my presentation so that Naomi can jump in because she's going to do the first set of demos looking at trade association web searching as well as Ibis World. Should we, are there any questions about kind of that really kind of big, fast, complicated information overload that I just dropped? Before we move into the demos, any general questions we'd be happy to answer before we actually start playing around on the screen. And you can put them into chat if you have any questions. We'll give it just a couple of minutes to see if anyone is typing away.
Excellent overview. Thank you for that, Kara.
Yeah.
I'm going to start sharing my screen.
Yeah, go ahead. I don't see that anyone's typing, so.
Okay. All right. Well, as she said, I'm going to show a couple of industry sources. The first one I want to start with showing is just on good old Google, free Google that everybody knows and loves. And this is searching for a trade association. And so I'm going to start by just doing trade association as a general word, and then put in a word or two that describes your industry. So I'm going to do childcare. That's the one we were doing. You'll see a couple of ads, probably ignore the ads. But then looking down at the results, because it senses I'm searching from Google, conveniently, it puts the Wisconsin Family Child Care Association. This is gold. If you can find ones that are local associations, they'll be even more tuned in to what are the specific needs of Wisconsin family childcare. And this looks like it would be for the type of childcare, offered in a home. So it's not in a center, but it's offered out of your home. Look at everything they have available here. Advocacy, conference, current news, mini conferences, coffee clutches is maybe like a kind of get together with other people that are doing the same sort of thing. They look like they have, board meetings, events. This looks like a really well organized website. They partner with, it looks like a couple of national association, NAFCC, National Association for Family Childcare. So this would be kind of the national equivalent of, this is the Wisconsin chapter. Wisconsin Early Childhood Association, that would be another Wisconsin local specific one. So you may not get 100% access to all of this because some of it might be limited only to members. They do have people who, people join, pay a membership fee, and then get full access to all of this. So you probably can't get everything on this site when you're not a member, but it's really good to start doing your research. And this is something that a lot of small business owners really find value in joining, joining a membership. Let's see what they list here. It's $20 or $60 a year. So it's not huge. And you can get a lot of really good professional membership, mentorship, benefits to being part of a trade association like this. So this is a great way to start, see what you can find locally. There's probably going to be others that are also, here's a list of Council for Professional CDA Council. Not sure what CDA stands for, but there's probably going to be a bunch of other more specific ones if you find another one that's more specific to what you're going to do. Here's a whole list: Child Care Aware, Council for Exceptional Children, Military Child Education Coalition. There's all kinds of really specific ones, as well as those national ones that can give you good information about, maybe a particular educational philosophy, or, Montessori style, or something like that, however you want to focus on yours. There's the national one, National Child Care Association. So really good way to just see what associations are out there. Also try, I put in childcare, but also try other words. Like Kara said, the first word isn't necessarily going to be the best. This one has quite a bit less results when I do daycare, or it might even want daycare as one word. I don't know. Let me try. Okay, pretty similar. Looks like ones I've seen these. I've clicked on most of these, but that's kind of the trying this in this pond, try a different strategy, right? Try some different keywords and see what else you find. So that's one great way to look for industry information, is see what the trade associations have. What do they list? What do they talk about as, what are the important issues? What are the challenges in this industry? What are they You know, what are they trying to support people in working in this industry? So that's a great, just, you know, free Google source. I'm going to spend a little more time now on one of our Whitewater sources. This is the link. This is the little banner up here. Tells you you're on a UW-Whitewater site. In our list of business databases, I'm going into the one called Ibis World. And this is hands down our best industry source. This is always where I direct students to go to anytime they're doing entrepreneurship, marketing, management, you know, any sort of research specific to an industry. And again, you can't get remote access to this, but if you can come into one of the Whitewater campuses, you can get the same access that I'm showing you on this screen here. You would just need to request a guest pass, is what we call it. Come to the desk and request a guest log on. This is what Ibis World looks like when you get in here. I'm going to do the same sort of thing here. I'll do, childcare, see what they have. 128 results. This one, surprisingly, this one looks like it's focusing more on center franchises. I'm seeing several reports here where they're talking about center franchises. And I'm going to say maybe that's not quite, because if I'm doing in-home daycare, that's not the same thing as a center franchise. That's a chain. So let me try something else. I'll go back to daycare instead. What's this? This looks more fitting. This is where, by the way, remember that NAICS code 624410, I think it was, right? This is where that NAICS code can help you verify. You know, we looked it up already for you, but once you find your NAICS code, this can help you verify, this is the right industry. This is my industry that I'm looking for. Ibis World does kind of try to organize these by the NAICS codes generally. 62441 is the NAICS category for this one. Another good way to identify just am I looking at the right industry is this little industry definition section here. You can see they provide daycare services for children under the age of 5, may also run preschool programs. However, kindergarten education and in-home nanny services are excluded. So I think nanny, they're talking about, you know, nanny that would go to one individual family. I think this would still be daycare services, would still probably include in-home daycare, I think, is my guess. So that kind of helps you understand, again, am I looking at the right industry report? Whichever industry report you look at, they're all organized the same. So these are really easy to navigate. You can see up here at the top, these are always very recent. They're always within the last year, sometimes within the last 6 months. They update these very regularly. And they do have a, you know, COVID impact update on all of these. Over on the left here, you have these chapters. So look at something like industry at a glance, because this will give you those really high level numbers. What's the overall industry structure? What's the SWOT? That stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. You know, what's the general profit margin for the last 5 years? What's the predicted? They have down here they have a predicted for the next 4 or 5 years. Number of businesses, number of employees, overall wages, products and services. Yeah, so here you can see this includes center-based daycare and in-home daycare. In-home is a smaller segment, but that's included in this segment. Overall trends, just what's happening in this industry. Let's see, going to something like industry, where was it? Industry. Yeah, the other industry ones, industry at a glance is probably the most helpful for a high-level overview. Products and markets can be really interesting because it'll do things like, you know, again, there's kind of the percentage segmentation. Where do they get most of their revenue from? You know, what kind of things are driving up demand or, you know, depressing demand in this industry? This is something kind of interesting, like what percentage is private payers versus government funding. If you're willing to, you know, do the paperwork or whatever that you need to be able to get government funding support for childcare, that's a pretty significant chunk of this industry. Industry, international trade. Obviously, this isn't an international one. Trade one, but some of you guys might have, you know, something related to international trade or exports in that section. So again, for any one of your industries, take a look at every one of these sections and see what you can find. Competitive landscape. This is a great section for what the key success factors are. This is basically what is most important for this industry if you're going to be successful in this business. So here they list, the ability to take advantage of government subsidies, because a lot of people will use government subsidies to help pay for childcare. Variety of services, recommendation or accreditation. You probably already know that if you've looked at the trade associations, right? Getting an accreditation is really valuable. But this will, again, kind of help you to, sometimes this will be something that will confirm what you already learned from the trade association. That's okay. That's still good information. Let's see, last thing I wanted to show. Key statistics. This is where you'll get into the financial ratios that we talked about on the financial projection spreadsheet. This is not necessarily saying you have to have these exact numbers, but this tells you this is kind of the benchmark for what other businesses in this industry have found. So for here, it's like overall, this is high level, number of establishments, wages, domestic demand. Go down here. Key ratios. Here's the section where if you have an employee, revenue, wages per employee, number of employees per established unit. And this is put over the last, I think, 15 years or so, and then they predict out a few future years as well. So this is a good way for, again, kind of projecting. Here's again, projecting your financial ratios. You can see over here too, they'll have things like your liquidity ratio, coverage ratio, cash flow ratios. And over on the right-hand side here, they list small companies, medium companies, or large companies. You're probably starting in the small. And so you can't compare yourself to the large ones, but look in the small category. And this is kind of roughly the financial ratios you should expect. So really, really valuable, both for, you can see this, this comes from the RMA, which is the same source we mentioned is a print resource in the library. So this is a fantastic resource. We pay lots and lots of money for this subscription so that you can have access to it for free. I highly recommend this for all of your industries. You'll get really, really valuable information. I always have entrepreneurs so impressed with the information they get out of this. When you come into Whitewater, you will be able to download right up here on this top page. You can download the PDF and take the whole report with you. It'll be like a 30 to 40 page report. So once you come into Whitewater once, download what you need, you can take it with you. So that hopefully makes it easy to use for you. Any questions on Ibis World?
Especially while she has it up on her screen.
Yep, anything else I should show?
I don't see any typing.
All right, I'll let Kara get on to her demos then.
Okay. All right.
Oh, and I should say too, if you're not sure how to get to any of the Whitewater resources, that's what Beth and I are here for. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. We can help you find it.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, someone let me know. Are you seeing the Hedberg Public Library page?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right. We're going to start with that reference solutions database because you can do so many things in there. So I am on our webpage right now. I'm going to head down to the bottom here. There is a link to our Small Business Center resources. I'm going to click on that graphic. And here's the link to our startup series here in this banner. But down below that are a whole bunch of resources that you have access to. Some require a library card, some do not. I'm going to head down here to the Finding Prospects and Suppliers section, and here is Reference Solutions. It used to be called Reference USA. It has recently changed names, of course. When you access this for the first time, especially remotely, it will ask you to sign terms of agreement and provide your library card number. So you do need a Hedberg Public Library card to access this. But once you're in, this is what you'll see. And like I said, it's a database of databases. There are lots of tools contained inside this one link. But we're going to start here at the U.S. Businesses search. There is a quick search, but for the kind of research that you're doing for your business plan, you definitely want the advanced search. So I'm going to head over there. And let's just quickly orient ourselves to the landscape here. We've got some selections going down the left side. We have a center column here, and we have a right column here with a result and a count. We haven't started a search yet. We're going to start with that by selecting this keyword SIC NAICS. That is going to jump into the center here so I can make some selections. And I am going to search by NAICS here. Here is where you can either enter the NAICS code that you've already discovered, or you can keyword search it. So I'll try to show you two ways. So 62441 was that NAICS code. I think we went a little deeper than that, but as soon as I started typing that in, I got some results here. And actually, to make things extra confusing, Reference Solutions has kind of modified their NAICS codes slightly from what the NAICS code actually is on the Census website, but it's close enough to keep you on the right track here. So here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing some options here. Childcare service is probably a good option. Children's after-school programs. Yeah, I could see there could be potential competitors there, so I'm going to select that one as well. These other ones I'm going to ignore for now. So those two have been selected. Now, what I can do is click on Update Count on the right, and it shows me how many results I would have if I went ahead and went in and looked at these search results. This means there are about 79,000 companies within this U.S. businesses database that fall within those two industries that we selected, the after-school program and the child care service. So that is way too many. Let's narrow this down geographically. So let's jump back over to the left. I'm going to use a radius search. And again, it's put it right into the middle here because I'm actually interested in who are my competitors in these industries that are, say, within a mile of my location. So I've put in my street address here. It happens to be the library address, my zip code, and how far of a radius I want to span out. So I've made those selections. I'm going to update my count over here on the right. Whoa, I'm down to 2. I think I should take a look at those. I'm going to view the results. And I am seeing 2 businesses that fit into those criteria. They fit into those daycare service industry codes, and they're within 1 mile of my location. If I'm interested in some more information about these, I just click on one of them and it'll open up some more detail about that particular company. You can see what other industries they fall within, if there are more than what you previously selected. I can tell that this particular place probably isn't an in-home daycare. It's got 7 employees and has an annual sales volume of roughly $117,000. This record was last updated in November of last year, so it's pretty current. And this particular business has been in this database for 17 years, so it is a pretty long-running business in that respect. And there's some additional information that you can peruse through, but these sections at the top are probably going to be most useful to you. So I can go back. If I were interested in downloading this information for both of these records, I would click here on this box and it would select all of those records. I would go over here to download, and I can make some selections about how I want, what format I want the download to be in, and what kind of data I want included in the download. You are limited to 250, no, I'm sorry, I think it's 500, it says right here at the bottom, 500 downloads per search. We're not near that right now, so there's no restriction. But sometimes when you have multiple pages of data, you do have to download them, let's say 500 records at a time. Okay. So let's jump back out. I'm going to jump back out to the home page here. And remember I said there were 2 tools that I thought were useful, one for finding competitors, the other for looking at consumers. So let's quickly jump over to the US Consumers database tool, and we're going to search in there. And again, for the type of research I'm doing, or that you're going to be doing, use the advanced search. And we're going to kind of do a similar thing. I'm going to look at radius under geography again, and I'm going to put in the same information, 316 South Main. Gainesville's zip code. I'm going to do number of miles 1. And then down here, I have a choice between all per household or 1 per household. This is either going to show me every name of every person who's in a household within 1 mile of 316 South Main Street, or it's going to show me just one name in the household. And I'm really interested in just the number of households, not necessarily everybody who lives there. So I'm going to select 1 per household, update the count. Okay. So what this is telling me is there are about 4,200 households within 1 mile of 316 South Main Street. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of the size of the market that I'm interested in. Now we can do some other things with this consumer database. We can do a lifestyles assessment. I'm going to click on the lifestyles box over here on the left. And I have the advantage of having done this before you, so I realize that you're seeing all of this for the first time, and I'm sorry that it may seem like it's going pretty quickly. But I am going to jump down here to purchase behavior, and I'm going to click on this plus sign so that it expands. And I have the option of searching by purchasing behavior that has to do with child and family products. I'm going to go ahead and select that. So I still have my radius information. I still have 1 per household selected. But now I'm saying I'm interested in seeing who within those categories have a purchasing history of products that are related to children and family. So I'm going to update my count here. And I'm down to 1,225 households. I'm going to show you what the results look like. And this actually gives you the name of a person in the household, their street address, and if they have a listed phone number, it provides their phone number. If they don't have a listed number, you don't get their phone number. But there are many pages of results here. There are 49 pages of results. If I was interested in downloading all of these, I would have to I would be able to select as many pages as I could at a time, up to 500 results, and be able to download that information in chunks. And I'm not going to actually go through that process right now, but that is very possible to do. So that was looking at lifestyles. Now I'm going to actually do one more quick demo. I'm going to stick with my radius, my 1 per household. Now I'm going to look at a consumer snapshot, which gives me some different information. And I'm interested in what households have children present in this geographic area. So this jumps over to the center. I'm going to make sure I select it, update my count. And this kind of tells me that there are about 1,600 households within this 1 mile radius of my location where there are children present. So that is another kind of a key piece of data for the market section of your business plan. So that is Reference USA, very, very, very quick, but it is a very powerful resource that is available to you.
I think, Kara, if I may jump in quick, I think that part of the children present part, I think draws from the census data. Okay. And that's an example of one that I think you can even go into the census data and get families with children under 10 or something. Because if you need childcare for kids under 8 or whatever your age cutoff is, you know, then you can go into the census and say how many of those families are children under 8 or 10 or whatever it is. So you can get even more specific in your customers.
Exactly. And I was hoping to demo that today, but I see we're already at 9:55, so I don't know if we'll have a chance to get to that. Let me actually I'm going to pop out of this because I want to query you guys. There were some additional demos I was hoping to do, but I want to be respectful of your time. If you can put in the chat, if you're able to stay longer, I'll keep going. If you are unable to stay and you're going to need to step out, then I won't probably begin another demo. The Reference USA one, I think of all the resources actually that we mentioned in the slide deck, seeing what Ibis World can do and seeing what Reference USA can do would be 2 really, really great starting points for you.
Yeah, I would agree.
I can stay for a bit. Perfect. Beth, I love this. Thanks, Beth. Tia can stay longer. Okay.
DF, to your question, the household purchasing, they are drawing, my understanding is they're drawing from things like catalogs you subscribe to or mail orders, things you order online that get shipped to your address. That's all in a big central database somewhere. That is one of the databases that Reference Solutions draws from. So that's why it is actually, you saw a little bit different number when we were looking at, households that purchase child and family products is one number. The children present, I think that one is drawing from the census, which is probably a little bit broader number because it's everybody that says, yes, we have children in the household, even if they didn't necessarily buy something through Amazon or they had a, children's magazine or something like that. That's where I think they get that information from.
Yeah, I think you're right. I believe credit card activity is involved in some of the data that Reference Solutions pulls in as well for purchasing.
So of course, if somebody, never buys anything on a credit card, then they maybe wouldn't show up in that count. But
right.
Gives you an idea.
And it actually is an interesting exercise to look yourself up in this database to see what this database thinks about you. That's always fun. Okay, well, I guess I'll continue. I'll do a little bit more. Naomi, do you have an opinion? Do you think I should try? Should I show them the Ebsco, the business source article search?
Yeah, since that subscription, maybe that one might be a little harder. Maybe let's show that one. Maybe.
Okay. Let me.
Yep, okay. Yeah.
All right, so I'm back on the HPL business page, and I'm just gonna head upstream here a little bit to the research business topics section, and we have a link here to Ebsco Business Source Premier. And this is what it looks like. I'm gonna jump right in. This is a BadgerLink database, so this is available to Wisconsin residents, but sometimes you have to prove that you're a Wisconsin resident to use it. So sometimes you'll get caught up in a little bit of an authentication issue here. But if you're in the library using this, you shouldn't have any trouble. And if you're on a home computer that's based in Wisconsin, you shouldn't have any trouble. I don't know if that's true, Naomi, for the Business Source Complete database that is at Whitewater.
Yeah, we have a version of this at Whitewater that's just a few more articles, but Premier would be probably about, 70% of what we have. Okay. We have ours is just a little bit bigger.
So another reason to visit Whitewater, maybe. Okay, so I'm gonna start broad here. I did jump into the advanced search again because of the kind of research you're doing. It's always good to jump into the advanced search. So I did sort of ignore the other fancy, appealing, tempting nuggets that were on the homepage just a screen back. But I did jump into the advanced search, and I'm assuming that, I'm going to pretend I'm kind of like you and I'm starting broad, starting new. I'm going to go very broad, and I'm just going to put in childcare as a search term. And I'm not even going to worry about selecting where I'm pulling this term from. I'm just going to hit search here. Maybe. It's thinking about searching. Mm-hmm. There it goes. Here we go. Okay. So just searching childcare just out there in the world of this database, I got 42,050 results, and that is way too many. Just for fun, I'm going to try searching the same terms. So same terms, but I'm going to search just within kind of controlled subject areas that are part of the articles in this database, and that helps quite a bit. That drops me down to about 7,500 articles. That's still a lot for me to fish through. I don't know that I want to go fishing in this pond yet. So I'm going to jump over here to the left-hand column. This is generally where you're going to find ways to narrow your search in whatever database you're using. The first thing I'm going to do is change my date range. I am really only interested in current information. So I'm going to change my date range to between 2018 and present day. And that helped a little bit more. I'm down to about 1,000 articles. Go ahead.
If you look at like number 2 there, Kiplinger's Personal Finance. So this is, some of these are going to be from like a business magazine that you've maybe seen out there.
Exactly. And I think if I did everything, if I prepared right, this one carries through to the end. And this one actually is, I think, would be an example of a great article to look at if you were actually doing this search for real. But I'm also going to pretend like, hey, I don't have a whole lot of time to contact my librarian to try to find an article for me in here. So I want to make sure I can read the article in full once I find something I like. So over here on the left, I'm going to limit it to full text. And that brings me down even further to about 487 articles. We're getting closer here. And I think the final selection I'm going to do is, I'm really not interested in reading academic journal articles. I'm really just interested in magazines and trade publications.
Trade publications are basically magazines that are published by those trade associations that I mentioned when we were looking in Google. A lot of those trade associations will publish basically a magazine that's focused on, something of it, some things that are of interest to their members, to their industry.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Okay, so that helped even more. I'm down to 240 articles. And I think I'm going to stop at this point. I'm going to scan through some pages here and see what jumps out at me. Pandemic spotlights the critical links between childcare and the economy. That seems pretty interesting. That speaks to the times we're in. Look how current it is. It's from March, April 2021. I could click on the PDF full text and read the whole article. Here's the one Naomi pointed out that keeps popping up every time we narrow a search. This one just keeps staying in there. Keep childcare costs in check. I'm going to click on this and I can actually get more information about the article before I even read it. The author, the source. Again, this is very current. Here are the subject terms that the article covers. This is what the article is about. Here's an abstract. So you can even read that and make a decision if you want to go further. And if you do want to go further reading it, you can either read it on the screen with HTML full text or download it as a PDF. You can also print it from here. So that is very quickly kind of how this article database search goes. Starting broad is okay, but you are fishing and you may have to play around with your search terms, especially if you're using keywords. And this is where your keyword list that you brainstorm comes in handy. You can also, it's also really helpful in this kind of database to use, once you find like one article that looks pretty good, look at the subject terms of the articles, and they are hyperlinked usually, and they will link you to additional searches of other articles that include those same subject terms. So it's a way to keep growing your research and finding more and more relevant articles. Also, note, here is the NAICS code. So we know we're in the right place. We're back at that 624410. We know that we're looking in the right place. So that is Business Source Premier. I'm going to close out of that. Let's jump to Gale Business Entrepreneurship. I'm back on the HPL business page. Here's what Gale Business Entrepreneurship looks like. Has a nice big search box up here at the top. Topics of interest in the middle. Browsable topics down below. This is the database that I would suggest you take a peek at just to see if there are business plans that have been written by other entrepreneurs, other business owners in your same industry. So I'm going to go ahead, again, I'm going to think broad here. I'm going to try childcare, and you can see it's auto-filling. It's giving me some ideas about keyword combinations for the searches. And since I'm probably opening an in-home daycare, I'm not gonna choose daycare center. I think I'm gonna choose, child care center. I'm gonna go with child care services and see what I get. So the results in this database kind of spit out in categories here. And again, remember, I think this database is best for finding sample business plans. So I'm going to stay focused on that. I'm going to go ahead and select the business plans results here. There are 7 that came up with this search. The other thing I'm going to do is, because I'm so interested in staying current and making sure I'm looking at a current business plan, I'm going to sort these results by newest, and that'll put the newest plan up at the top here. So we have a group childcare service business from the business plans handbook. It's current, it's from 2020. This is a group childcare business that offers weekend night childcare services. So that one might be worth looking at. Here's a rural daycare center from the business plans handbook, also very current in 2020. This is a nonprofit rural daycare center. So maybe not the best match because it's not an in-home daycare and it's a nonprofit, but it still could be worth looking at how they organize their business plan and where they got some of their information for the industry or the market analysis. And then let's see if we have anything else. Oh, here, this one looks promising. This one is Daycare Childhood Dreams from the Business Plan Handbook, but it's pretty old. It's from 2004. I probably would advise that maybe you not worry about looking at this, but I did happen to open this one up, and I still think it's useful, even though it is possibly outdated. You can still see the full text of how this business owner put together their plan. And they started here with a market analysis. They gave population data. They gave data about the number of homes in their market area and the average income per household in their market area. So just looking at this gives you an idea of how you can start formulating in writing some of this data that you're finding as you're doing this research for your business plan.
And all that demographic stuff is in the census.
Yes. So maybe we should jump there.
Mm-hmm.
And that may need to be the last one we do.
Sure.
I don't want to go too long. Okay. I'm going to go back to HPL. And we link to the census down here at the bottom, researching your market. I'm just going to go to this first one, U.S. Census Home. The census, I'll be honest with everyone who's here, the census scares me. I am really intimidated by the amount of data that's in here and all of the different tools, because look at how much they do. They have all kinds of programs that they do. The regular census, that's every 10 years, the American Community Survey, the Housing Survey, the Business Survey, the Population Survey, the Economic Census. I cannot keep it all straight.
Yeah.
But what I have found, or what I want to show you today, is in the Explore Data tab, there is an Explore Data main, and it has a couple of the tools that I wanted to point out to you. I'm going to scroll down. One of the tools, oh, by the way, here's the NAICS lookup. So you can click on that and go find your NAICS code. Right next to that is the Census Business Builder. I'm going to click on that, and actually it takes me up here. Here's the Census Business Builder. Again, there's a lot going on here. This is overwhelming. But you want to select this Small Business Edition. And this is claiming that it's going to help you find the best location for your business. This is going to do a geographic, kind of a demographic search for you. You can, on the left here, use these to try to find your business, your industry, or you can go down here and start typing in your NAICS code. So I don't know, it's giving me preschool centers.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Sometimes they label them slightly differently. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
an older version, but as
Yeah.
long as the number is the same, 624110.
Okay. The other thing you can do, and this is what I did initially, is I went into personal services, but I kind of made a guess based on the NAICS research we did earlier that it was probably in personal services, and daycare pops up right there. And so it tells you that you're in daycare. And you can verify if you want, it'll drop you out to the NAICS. Okay, so we've selected daycare. Now it wants some location information. I'm gonna put Janesville. And we want Janesville City, Wisconsin. And then you can either go to a map feature or a report feature. I've had trouble with the map. Naomi knows this. I kind of like the report feature. So it's going to generate a report for me. And here are the contents of the report. A customers section, a businesses like mine section, a consumer spending section. And you just scroll down and you get some useful demographic information. The characteristics of Janesville, Wisconsin. It's telling you where the information is coming from. It's the 2015 to 19 American Community Survey 5-year estimates. It gives you
percent under 5 years if you want to focus on kids under 5 years.
Right. And if you click the little squiggle line here, it will graph it for you on the right. And you can use these graphs if you want to in your business plan. What else do we have here? Socioeconomic characteristics, so median income, degrees received, household size, percent in poverty. You can click on any of these to graph them. And it also gives you a nice comparison of your local area versus the national data. So that's the kind of information you get from this. It didn't really have, I did not think it had a strong section of businesses like mine. In fact, it doesn't really say anything. It talks about building permits, which I don't think would be terribly useful. And then there is a consumer spending section. And you would just have to peruse through these categories to see if these kind of made sense, if these were helpful for the kind of data that you needed in terms of consumer spending related to your business. So that's the Census Business Builder. And then I'm going to go back home to Census. And I wanted to show you the it wasn't the quick facts, it was the...
There's a quick profile if you just go up to the very top box and just search for, or the second one down. Try out our new way to explore data. Oops, we went past it.
This one?
There you go. Yep, and then search for Janesville. This will give you, a nice profile as well for all those categories on the left. People, population, race, ethnicity, health, education, employment. Again, this is kind of the snapshot for everybody in Janesville. Or you could put in a certain zip code if you wanted to be more specific or something.
Right. And if you're not seeing the exact breakdown you want, or if you want access to the raw data, because this is reporting the data for you in a visual form. Yeah, visualization. If you actually want the data, you need to go to the table. The table has the raw data. So there's a hyperlink to table DP05.
And this will see age 10 and under. You can see there's
exactly
under 5, 5 to 9, 10 to 14, sort of thing.
Now it is showing us US.
Yeah, it lost our geography there. Oh, I think if you go to geos go over to toward the left.
Or I thought you could just put it up here. I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know why it lost the.
It lost the. There we go. Now we're in Janesville.
Okay, good.
And this box to me, like I missed this box at the top, but this is on top of a lot of data sets that you see in the census. So it's a good place to double check. Am I looking at the right location or not? And we were not. We were looking at US instead of Janesville. But here's the the estimated 4,000 children who are aged 5 to 9 years, another 4,400 up to age 14 years. So more data that can go into your the market section or market analysis of your business plan.
Very good.
So I think I better end it there because we're 15 minutes over. I'm going to stop sharing. All right. Any questions for those who have stuck with us? Thank you for staying.
Yes.
What I was going to demo that I didn't get to, I was going to show you guys Wisconomy. If in the course of writing your business plan, you are anticipating that you will have employees to pay, reach out and I can show you how that works. But Wisconomy is available as a website. I would suggest using the My LMI tool, and you can visualize and see and compare average wage rates for different occupations across multiple counties. So you can see what childcare workers on average get paid in Rock County, for example. And if you want to pay better than the average in Rock County, you can look at surrounding counties. You can compare Rock County to Dane County, for example. What does a childcare worker in Dane County make? Well, I want to be able to pay them that much. So that is a good tool if you need to drop in some wage rate data into your financial projections.
Hopefully this gives you an idea of what kind of resources are out there. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out to Kara at Hedberg or Beth or myself at Whitewater. We'd be happy to help.
Yeah, and I will put up our contact information one more time.
Oh, yes.
Here it is. There we go.
Yep.
We exist to help you, so
Yes.
do reach out at any time. Next week for the business startup series, next week is the Q&A with the two professional mentors who were with us last week. So if you do have questions about the business plan or starting to think through your financial projections, if you have questions for those mentors, come prepared with those questions. And then we also are going to have a guest with us. Mark Lorenz from Johnson Financial Bank will be with us, and he is going to give the banking perspective of going through the business loan process, kind of how it works, what they consider in those applications, what they look for, how the approval process works, and just kind of in general his perspective of business planning from that banking side. So that's what's coming up next week, next Tuesday morning at 8:30.
Sounds fantastic.
Yeah, thank you, Naomi, very much for joining us. It's very helpful to see the databases that we don't have here at Hedberg.
For sure. Glad to be. Always fun to help our community entrepreneurs. I really enjoy that. So
good, awesome.
See you
all right. Thanks everyone. Have a good rest of your day.